Department holding a news conference on the ransomware attack on the Colonial Pipeline. Let's listen.
Paula Bate and Acting U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of California, Stephanie Hines, to discuss the work of the department's ransomware and digital extortion task force in combating the epidemic of ransomware attacks by criminal groups. Also with us are Assistant Attorney General for National Security, John Demers, and Acting Assistant Attorney General for the Criminal Division, Nick McQuaid. Ransomware attacks have increased in both scope and sophistication in the last year, targeting our critical infrastructure, businesses of all types, whole cities, and even law enforcement. Ransomware and digital extortion pose a national security and an economic security threat to the United States. The Department of Justice, working with our partners, is committed to using all of our tools all the tools at our disposal to disrupt these networks and the abuse of the online infrastructure that allows this threat to persist. The sophisticated use of technology to hold businesses and even whole cities hostage for profit is decidedly a 21st century challenge. But the old adage, follow the money, still applies. And that's exactly what we do. After Colonial Pipeline's quick notification to law enforcement and pursuant to a seizure warrant issued by the United States District Court for the Northern District of California earlier today, the Department of Justice has found and recaptured the majority of the ransom Colonial paid to the dark side network in the wake of last month's ransomware attack. Ransomware attacks are always unacceptable. But when they target critical infrastructure, we will spare no effort in our response. DarkSide is a ransomware as a service network. That means developers who sell or lease ransomware to use in attacks in return for a fee or a share in the proceeds. DarkSide and its affiliates have been digitally stalking U.S. companies for the better part of last year and indiscriminately attacking victims that include key players in our nation's critical infrastructure. Today, we turned the tables on DarkSide. By going after the entire ecosystem that fuels ransomware and digital extortion attacks, including criminal proceeds in the form of digital currency, we will continue to use all of our tools and all of our resources to increase the costs and the consequences of ransomware attacks and other cyber-enabled attacks. The seizure announced today was conducted as part of the department's recently launched Ransomware and Digital Extortion Task Force, which was established to investigate, disrupt, and prosecute ransomware and digital extortion activity. This is the task force's first operation of this kind. This work is important because every day the digital threats that we face are more diverse, more sophisticated, and more dangerous. In this heightened threat landscape, we all have a role to play in keeping our nation safe. No organization is immune. So today, I want to emphasize to leaders of corporations and communities alike, the threat of severe ransomware attacks pose a clear and present danger to your organization, to your company, to your customers, to your shareholders, and to your long-term success. So pay attention now. Invest resources now. Failure to do so could be the difference between being secure now or a victim later. But also know that we are all in this together. The U.S. government will continue to do more to increase our nation's resilience while increasing the costs to our digital adversaries and those that enable or harbor them. And we cannot do so without you. The Department of Justice will continue to evolve as the threat evolves. That is why one of the first acts I took after returning to the department was to launch a strategic cyber review. That is why federal prosecutors now report ransomware incidents in the same way that they report critical threats to our national security. And that is why we will continue to work with our public and private partners, both here and globally, to bring our collective authorities together to confront emerging threats. There is no higher priority for the Department of Justice than using all available tools to protect our nation. That includes from ransomware and other digital threats. Thank you. And now I'll turn the podium over to Deputy Director Paula Bate.
Thank you, Dag Monaco. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, the FBI successfully seized criminal proceeds from a Bitcoin wallet that DarkSide ransomware actors used to collect a cyber ransom payment from a victim. Since last year, we've been pursuing an investigation into DarkSide, a Russia-based cybercrime group. The DarkSide ransomware variant is one of more than 100 ransomware variants that the FBI is currently investigating. DarkSide developers market their ransomware to criminal affiliates who then conduct attacks and share a percentage of the proceeds with the developers, a scheme known as ransomware as a service. In this case, the FBI has identified more than 90 victims across multiple U.S. critical infrastructure sectors. Those include manufacturing, legal, insurance, healthcare, and energy. Based on our investigation into DarkSide and incredible work with other U.S. government partners, we identified a virtual currency wallet that the DarkSide actors used to collect a payment from a victim. Using law enforcement authorities, victim funds were seized from that wallet, preventing DarkSide actors from using them. This is just the latest disruption that the FBI and DOJ have taken to impose risk and consequences on cyber adversaries. Since announcing our new cyber strategy last year, we have dismantled the infrastructure of the EMATET criminal botnet through an unprecedented coalition of U.S. and international law enforcement and private industry partners. Additionally, we have joined other government partners to expose a cyber tool developed by the Russian GRU. We have also used legal authorities to remove malicious backdoors installed on the networks of Microsoft Exchange server customers across the United States. And just last week, DOJ announced the seizure of 2 command and control domains used by the perpetrators of a wide spearphishing campaign. This focus on joint action and collaboration is exemplified by the National Cyber Investigative Joint Task Force, which brings together intelligence community, law enforcement, and cybersecurity agencies for a whole-of-government approach against these cyber threats. Our partners in the intelligence community and across government are central to these efforts. Leveraging each of our authorities and capabilities enables us to conduct coordinated operations to respond to and deter malicious activity from groups like DarkSide. There's a lot of exceptional behind-the-scenes teamwork that goes into both identifying effective ways to target adversaries and predicating actions that we may take against them. I want to give major thanks to the incredibly hardworking special agents, intelligence analysts, and professional staff of the FBI's Atlanta and San Francisco field offices and the FBI Cyber Division, along with government-wide partners who assisted in this investigation and seizure. These cases require a significant level of determination and technical expertise, and without a doubt, every individual involved displayed that through the achievements reflected here today. We continue to be committed to using the information intelligence we develop through our investigations to take early, meaningful steps to protect the public and be preventative. We will continue to work relentlessly and seek innovative ways to use our unique authorities, world-class capabilities, and enduring partnerships for maximum impact against our adversaries. Today, we deprived a cyber criminal enterprise of the object of their activity, their financial proceeds and funding. For financially motivated cyber criminals, especially those presumably located overseas, Cutting off access to revenue is one of the most impactful consequences we can impose. When the FBI combines our law enforcement and intelligence authorities with those of our partners in government and the cooperative relationship with private industry, and when we have victims willing to share information to further our collective efforts against cyber adversaries, we can have immediate, permanent effect on ransomware actors. That is why it is so critical for victims to report intrusions to us as soon as possible, and then work with us to provide evidence and intelligence for our investigations, leading to recovery, attribution, and ultimately prevention. Victim reporting not only can give us information we need to have immediate real-world impact on the actors, it can also help prevent future intrusions into other victim networks and prevent further harm from occurring. With continued cooperation and support from victims, private industry, and our U.S. and international partners, we will bring to bear the full weight and strength of our combined efforts and resources against those actors who think nothing of threatening public safety and our national security for profit. Thank you. And I'd now like to invite to the podium the Acting U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of California, Stephanie Hines.
We're hearing now from the Department of Justice here. The Deputy Director of the FBI just detailed a new operation where they managed to seize ransom paid by a victim to a ransomware attacker, to a hacking group there. And the FBI says now that it was able to seize that ransom money back. For more on this, I want to bring in Elizabeth Newman, ABC News contributor and former DHS official during the Trump administration. Elizabeth, what do you make of this approach? This is a new one we haven't heard about yet.
This is great news. And you heard Lisa Monaco, the Deputy Attorney General, say the old adage is follow the money. And that's what they're doing here. It's very difficult to do that with cryptocurrency. So bravo to the task force for being able to find that trail and seize what they could. It looks like it's a large portion, not the full portion of the ransom paid, but this sends a strong deterrent signal to cyber criminals. And in many ways, you know, at the very least, don't target our big infrastructure and maybe don't mess with the U.S. at all. Sadly, that becomes a concern for other countries that might not be nearly as capable as we are to be able to defend ourselves. But I'm pleased with this. It's hopefully will start to turn the tide on what otherwise has been just a massive exponential increase of ransomware attacks over the last year.
And Elizabeth, there's a report that one of the things the Colonial Pipeline managers did is when they contacted the FBI, they said they were going to pay the ransom because they didn't know how long this hack was going to last. The FBI, quote, gave them some instructions before they transferred payment into a cryptocurrency wallet, and whatever was in those instructions helped track the payment and get it back. That sounds like the 21st century equivalent of marked bills, and I wonder what kind of message that might send to hackers, and not just the group that did this, but others.
Yeah, Terry, that's a really excellent point. There was a lot of criticism on Colonial Pipeline at the beginning because they did seem very slow to report. I was pleased to see that actually there was a bit more coordination than maybe the general public were aware of. But it's a good reinforcement to any member of the private sector that is enduring an attack like this. You heard the FBI deputy director mention that they are tracking over 90 entities that have been attacked by DarkSide alone, let alone all of the other actors that are out there. So they're tracking over 90 potential attacks. They have 100 different variants of the ransomware that was used. This is a massive problem. So to see partnership with the FBI talking to the federal government, it looks like the federal government didn't tell them they couldn't pay, but they were able to, as you suggest, Terry, put those marked bills in there and allowed them to later go and track, follow the money, and bring these indictments. Now, I don't think we're likely to see anybody actually prosecuted in the U.S., but but it's great that we got the money back, and hopefully we'll be able to do that with other entities that are also facing ransomware attacks.
And Elizabeth, the deputy director of the FBI there detailed a few other approaches and victories they've had lately, including, he said, exposing a cyber tool used by some Russia-based groups. But we also heard from the Deputy Attorney General stressing that companies also have to be very diligent right now and have to do their part as well to try to protect themselves. So if you're in a position of being worried that you are vulnerable to this kind of an attack, what's the takeaway here?
There is no doubt that the most important thing, I mean, it's great that we were this proactive and going after the bad actors, but the best thing for any company to be doing right now is to go through the list. There was a letter that the White House put out last week, which is really unprecedented. It's very unusual for the White House to put out a blanket letter to all members of the private sector and CEOs saying, please, please, please follow these 5 things. And it goes into some detail, but they are everything from make sure that your organization is using 2-factor authentication, which basically means when you're logging in with a password, there's another secondary way in which you're validating that you are who you say you are. You should have access to the system, that you should check up on your security teams, make sure that they have the resources that they need, hire a third-party organization to come and test your internal security systems. That red teaming is really important to find your vulnerabilities before the enemy finds the vulnerabilities. And then they list a whole host of other things. They get into a lot of technical detail, like making sure your operational systems are separate from your business systems, air gapping your systems. So a lot of just really practical advice that has been out there for quite a long time. We just haven't been acting on it. It's kind of like the stuff that we do at home. We know we should check and lock our doors. We know we should set the alarm. We know we should stop our mail when we go travel. We just get complacent sometimes, and we think, oh, it wouldn't happen to me. This is one of those really basic set of security standards that all companies need to make sure that they're doing. So that's what I would lean into if you're a CEO or a head of a company. Make sure that your security is tight and walk through these simple steps to keep yourself from being an easy target.
All right, Elizabeth Newman, always great to have you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.